is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
All right, here we are. It is time for another edition of Mick Shots. It's Tuesday at 11:30, and Mickey Spagnola right on time at 11:30 on a Tuesday morning. Everson Walls will be along shortly. I am Bill Jones, and Mickey, I have spent this morning, as I have spent many mornings here in the month of April already, as we are up to April 13th now, 2 weeks and 2 days away from draft day. I have been immersed inside my, let me get it here, my big green NFL draft scouting notebook. I am into this, Mickey. I'm ready to go.
I got a big blue one.
Your big blue NFL draft scouting notebook. All right.
It's thick.
That's what I should have a blue one. But going way back in Mickey, you and I have been, of course, you've been covering the Cowboys since the 80s, but we really started getting into this draft stuff, I want to say 2005, when the Cowboys had 2 first-round draft picks with DeMarcus Ware and Marcus Spears, and that's basically when I started my notebook. And one year I just happened to get a green notebook, and then people would say, "What's inside that big green notebook?" And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a green notebook every year, and maybe I can get a title sponsor. I can get About that time, I got a big green egg on the back porch, and I thought, well, maybe the big green egg will sponsor my notebook. Well, here we are 15 years later and no sponsor, but I still got my green notebook.
So you didn't get another egg, huh?
I do have the egg. I don't use it enough on the back porch, but since then I've got son-in-laws who do use it for me. But yeah, it's 2 weeks and 2 days away, and I feel like I got a lot more studying to do, but I feel a lot better about my knowledge of some of the prospects than I did a couple of weeks ago. This is a great month, as far as I'm concerned, just getting ready for this thing and learning these players.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as for out here, it's been pretty quiet over the last week. The one thing that should occur this week, I think if all goes well, at some point, Keanu Neal will actually assign. He's still agreed to terms. He hasn't signed his contract. He evidently had a medical deal going on with his ear, and the doctors didn't want him to fly. So he hasn't physically come to sign, but they should get that done, I was told, this week. And looking at the amped-up rehab that Dak Prescott is doing, about 2-3 times a week, he has progressed now. You know how they put those pylons on the ground, and the quarterbacks would step up and then back in like they're dropping back and then come back forward. He's now doing that on the resistant cord and looking pretty darn good. Backpedaling, coming forward, backpedaling, coming forward, doing the different exercises Britt Brown is putting him through. So he's certainly moving along with his rehab, along with his rehab buddy, La'el Collins. They seem to work out together. And usually Tuesday morning, actually Monday, Tuesday mornings for sure. So his progress is improving greatly. And like I said last week, Bill, I had to kind of remind myself which foot was the one that he injured because he seems to be moving that well.
It's funny you're talking about Dak and being on the rehab field with the cones on the field. It reminded me of a story I heard. I'm not gonna say what coach told me this about Nick Saban, but he's gone through so many assistant coaches at Alabama he's got it's a turnstile there every year where so many coaches go there either to rehab their career or just to honestly just working for Saban. But one coach, it was a quarterbacks coach that was there, and he was doing quarterback drills, whatever, and Saban was observing, and they got to talking afterwards, and Saban asked him, why don't you use cones with your quarterback drills? And the coach said, well, I just never have used cones. There's no reason. They can see, they can still work on their footwork. I just don't use cones. And Saban said to him, let's use cones. So they use cones from then on. There was no rhyme or reason to it, but there's cones out there. I wonder if we have Everson Walls with us now. I'm seeing him on the live stream.
He looks a tad perplexed.
Yeah, maybe we haven't reached communication with him. But nope, he's shaking his head. All right. Mickey.
He's studying cover 2, I think.
All right. Your first comments about not much going on there at the Star. I think that is an alarming comment to some that might be listening, because the draft is 2 weeks away, and there better be something going on there in regards to the draft at the Star here 2 weeks before the draft.
Well, it's going on the other side of the demilitarized zone. Okay.
Not where you can see it.
Not where I'm at.
Rest assured, there's plenty. Yeah. There's plenty going on in the important wing of the Star in Frisco, inside Ford Center, right?
And my point was they haven't signed anybody or released anybody.
Right.
We haven't got any news on personnel, but yeah, I'm sure they're ramping up preparation for the draft. And speaking of that, Bill, I was looking at the roster as it sits right now, and if we include Keanu Neal when he eventually signs, and the 2 guys that got restricted offer sheets, they've got 73 guys under contract right now, and they still don't know if it's going to be an 80-man roster or a 90-man roster like they expanded last year to help teams get through the pandemic. So with 73 guys already signed and 10 draft choices, if it's an 80-man roster, then I don't. Let's put it this way: I don't see them
not to mention the undrafted guys.
Right. So they're pointing towards 90 at this point, right? And we'll see where that goes. But I don't see them using all 10 draft choices, and which means that I think in their minds, if they want to, they've got enough draft choice power to move around in this draft if they want to move up to take a player or 2. Obviously, if they want to move back and pick up more picks, or maybe pick up picks for next year. And when I say back, I don't mean more than 3 to 5 spots and still get what they want. So I think that there are probably some trade wins brewing, and not before the draft, but during the draft. Like in that first round, if you got somebody you just got to have and you want to move up 2 spots, they probably got enough to do that. And especially in the second round, if you look at the second day, Bill, they've got 3 picks in the second round, 44, 75, and 99. So the Cowboys have 4 picks in the top 99 picks, and that's pretty good draft collateral heading into the draft.
And you think about it, how about, especially when you look at the fact that there could be 5 quarterbacks taken ahead of them in the draft, and then you've got these receivers, and so you could have the pick of 4 or 5 defensive players that you like, not to mention maybe an offensive tackle. And I also will include Kyle Pitts, the tight end, as one of those that I'm going to assume is going to be picked. If he's a future Hall of Fame tight end, he's not going to make it all the way to number 10 in this draft. So that just clears the board for them, where they can have almost the pick of the litter as far as the defensive board goes. And there may be a guy that they really, if they've got them ranked sort of the same, there may be a guy that they like the better, that their intelligence is telling them that other teams, might be able to get them at 15 instead of 10, and so you can pick up an extra pick maybe in the third round, slide down 5 spots, and then you take your 44th pick, and there's another guy even late in the first round, where you now have some ammunition where you can really move up and get another guy that you really like, either late first round or early second round on the second day of the draft.
Yeah, they're almost with that 10th pick in a perfect spot. As you mentioned, 5 quarterbacks potentially, 2 wide receivers, that's 7. There's been talk of 2 offensive linemen, that's 9. You mentioned Pitts, that's 10. They should have their choice of defensive guys if that's the way they want to go, to take the best defensive player that's on the board at that point, if the draft goes the way we suspect. And I think there's a lot of talk right now of, maybe the draft starts at number 4. Atlanta, are they going to take a quarterback, or are they going to trade out of that for somebody that wants a quarterback? They've got Matt Ryan for 2 more years. Do they want a young guy to groom behind him for a couple more years? Or would they just trade out of there and get something for their troubles? So I think that spot will kind of start this draft going on what happens with the quarterbacks in the top 5. But like you said, Bill, they get to number 10, and if they're still there, whatever cornerback they want, whatever linebacker they want, if they got a defensive lineman that they like but they want to move back, I think they've got a lot of variables there that they can take advantage of, at least at this point, as you said, with 2 weeks and 2 days to go before the draft.
And the other thing is, we're sitting here, this cottage industry, as Parcells put it back in the day, of all the mock drafts and all this lead up to the draft. We really don't know for sure what's going to happen, obviously, and it's like it almost becomes a thing where, all right, there's these popular mock drafts out there, and people are afraid to go against the grain, and because that are even the analyst on it, because they think maybe I'm crazy. Why do I think this guy is going to be there? Well, these NFL scouts and teams, they've studied these players a whole lot more than anyone on the outside, and so we really don't know, and we also don't know how they feel about their teams. For instance, Atlanta at number 4. Okay, let's say that they kind of like Justin Fields, or they kind of like Trey Lance, but they aren't sure about it. They have to make a decision as far as their team goes. How close are they to getting back to contending again with Matt Ryan as their quarterback, or do they, quote unquote, waste that pick on a guy that's going to be playing behind, like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, especially Trey Lance. Well, either one of them aren't necessarily ready to come right in right now, but they play behind Matt Ryan for a year or 2. Well, you haven't improved your immediate football team at that point. So Atlanta's got to make that decision. All right, do I take that future quarterback, and I've got Matt Ryan here for another year or 2? Or do I really improve my team right now and get that tight end that everyone says going to the Hall of Fame, Kyle Pitts, and we're making a move now and worry about the quarterback later?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and especially Trey Lance, right? He's basically played 1 season, and so he's probably not ready to step in somewhere and take over
at the FCS level.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be an interesting spot. Do you think we have Everson now?
You do have
look
Everson.
at there!
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
I want to file a complaint, man. Who runs this show? Who runs this this penny ante show here. What's going on? I'm sorry, Chris. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you.
Everson, it's great. We were seeing you earlier. It's great to hear you now.
Oh, good. I hope you didn't see my finger. I had a finger.
No,
I think that's when they took you down.
Did you?
We saw your face, and it was a lot of consternation looks.
You were studying that. You looked like a rookie studying that flex defense and what these guys.
That's
are
the way
doing
it was.
Like, what are
That's
they
the way
doing?
I looked on the sideline.
That's
the way I looked on the sideline after every series. Like, what the hell is this flex defense all about? It's not working. It doesn't work.
So could you at least hear us? Could you hear what we were talking about?
I couldn't.
You could
I could not hear you.
Okay.
Is that a good thing?
No,
that's a good thing.
we weren't talking about you. We were talking about the draft and the possibilities of what the Cowboys can do and the way everything seems to be shaking down with those first 9 picks and the variables.
And they were talking about the tight end, right? Talking about us going for a tight end.
Well, I don't know.
Stud from Florida.
Everybody's enamored with him. So the fact that evidently if Jerry said he's intrigued by the tight end, well, yeah, he's intrigued. He should be intrigued. Everybody's intrigued by him. That doesn't mean you're taking him, right?
He is. You have to admit, though, he is that special tight end that doesn't come along, but once in a while. You can tell not just by his build and his talent, but it's his determination, his confidence. His that determination, as I spoke of, something that has been evident throughout the entire year last year, and he caught my eye, I must admit. So yeah, it's somebody you want to take a look at. But here we are sitting on Jarwin, who I'm hoping comes back. He was one of my favorite tight ends in the league when he was healthy, Spags. So I don't know what is the progress on I believe it was the ACL injury that he had.
Yeah, and let's put it this way. If you're intrigued at number 10, somebody between 1 and 9 should be equally intrigued, right? If the guy is as good as advertised. And all I got to say is tight end play didn't keep this team from finishing 500, all right?
Yeah, what you're looking at, obviously, we have to go with defense. The guy Pitts, I believe that's his name, right? Kyle Pitts, is that his name?
Yes.
Now, Kyle Pitts, he can make you change your mind. That's the thing about that kind of generational talent. That's the way I see it. As a generational talent, he will make you change your mind. You're thinking like, okay, we're set, guys. Don't worry about it. Oh, we're not going to be distracted. And all of a sudden, here this guy comes, and you're like, oh, man, if I could just get that guy, if he's available, what would this do for my team? And then we think, as you said, Spags, we've got offensive talent. That's nothing that we're not short on offensive talent at all. We have to stick to the game plan. We have to go for what we go defensively. But if we're going to go defensively, it better be that pick. We're not going to come up with some guy that you never heard of. Oh, guys, this was a surprise pick by us, and, we think it's going to work. No, we don't need any of those experiments. We're already experimenting because they're rookies, but we need someone that's going to come in ready to play if we're going to pass up a Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and that's why that 10th pick is pretty valuable real estate in this draft, because if there's a team that still sees a quarterback available and they want to move up, who knows how much they give you for a quarterback. And the same thing with Pitts. If he's as good as advertised, somebody around 12, 13 might say, oh, I got to have that guy. It might give you a buttload, and you might have, 2 or 3 guys that you say, okay, either one of those guys I can live with. And it's not just corners. It's the linebackers, as Bill and I talked about last week. And Bill kind of did
linebackers. I'm with you guys on linebackers. Yeah.
And Bill did a deep dive into a couple of them too, by the way.
Well, don't you think that they're at number 10 or going into the draft, they're going to expect that certain players are going to be there at 10, and there is going to be one player that they've graded higher, who stands out above the rest in that grouping of, say, 4 or 5 players who are possibilities at number 10. And if that guy is there, they got to take that guy.
Exactly.
You can't risk moving back a couple of spots and then not get the guy that you want. I think the way that you move down is if that guy is already taken, and then you've got another handful that you like, but you're not, he's not the 1A on your list. And it's still a dangerous
Who's the
thing
other
moving
linebacker,
back.
Bill, that you were touting?
There's a couple of the 3 that I like. You got Micah Parsons from Penn State, who everyone's talking about. And then, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame is a guy that's really
very good, Bill, because I thought you were saying like 3 or 4 names. That's good.
I didn't. And so there were 3 names for you right there. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And then
Where's he out of?
Notre Dame.
What school?
Notre Dame. Yeah, and he's, in contrast to Parsons, Owusu-Koramoah, he was a safety. Parsons in high school was a defensive lineman. He was like an edge rusher. So he came from the front 4 and moved to the linebacker spot in college, okay? Owusu came from the back end and became a linebacker. He is more one of those hybrid type guys. Only, he's a smaller guy, 220 pounds, but it's what the league is going to.
Right.
There are times where you're watching Notre Dame tape and you're wondering, where's number 6? Where's he lining up? Well, he's out on the slot that's out on the perimeter. And then he comes into the action as the play unfolds. But you take a look at him. You'll really like his athleticism. He's delivered some of the hardest hits that I've seen on tape from any of these draft prospects. And he's got all the intangibles, too. I mean, he is just a complete person as well as a complete player. Now,
give me the third. Who was the third? Who was the third guy?
The third guy is Zaven Collins from Tulsa. And he's a guy. Now, Owusu-Koramoah won the Butkus Award last year at Notre Dame as the top linebacker in the country. Every other defensive award in the country was won by Zaven Collins of Tulsa. This guy, Everson.
Wow.
This guy played middle linebacker, and he was all over the field. He also was an edge rusher at times. And he had 4 interceptions last year in 8 games, including one that clinched the biggest game of the year for him. He ran 95 yards for a touchdown. He is 6'5", but get this, he is 6'5", 260 pounds, and runs 4.6. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So he, and what's Van Der Esch?
What happened to the small linebackers, Bill? You just
exactly.
messed up
Here you got 3 different linebackers that are all different. Okay. And Parsons is Parsons is 245.
Yes, he is. I remember.
But he runs a 4.4. Now some of these 40 times, Everson, as you know, since they didn't have a combine, they're done at pro days, and they're all over the lot. But a 4.4 is still a 4. He was timed at 4.36. So even if you took even if you took 5/10 off, you can make it a 4.46, and that's pretty phenomenal.
I saw an interview.
I say we take a linebacker. Let's just stop right there. We're taking a linebacker.
But here's the thing, Everson, on Zaven Collins, the so-called draft experts, they're saying, he's a mid to late first-round guy. So if the Cowboys took him at number 10, they'd be criticized all over the lot that, they reached on him. They took him too soon. Well, nobody knows that, the Giants picking right behind him might love him just as much, and they might take him. You don't know.
Giants are known for taking good linebackers. I mean, LT aside, you Harry Carson, you got Jesse Armstead. I mean, you got a whole list of a history of Giants taking good linebackers.
The thing that I think that distinguishes all 3 of these guys is their instincts. They see what's happening before it happens. They're not.
That's right.
They're not late reading things. I saw an interview with Jim Mora Jr. about Koramoah, and the last thing he said was, "The team that passes on him will regret it." And so He thinks this guy is as, he also said he's as dynamic a defensive player in the draft as there is. What I see is a superstar in today's NFL. So he really likes that guy too.
He kind of, according to what you're saying about him, and being that guy that catches all and does all, it kind of reminds you of a Chase Young pick a little bit coming out of Ohio State last year. He did a great job, of course, with the Washington football team. Koromoa seems like he could be that kind of game changer defensively for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and he's got you could play him. He's 6'1.5", 221 pounds, so you could actually play him at safety. And I mean, he's got that kind of athleticism where he could play safety, and then in your nickel, he's in your sub packages as a linebacker. He just makes so many plays. And Mickey, you're talking about his eye. All these linebackers, their eyes, and being able to read the play. There is one phenomenal play that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah made last year, where it was against Clemson, in fact, where the quarterback is pitching the ball to Travis Etienne, their running back. Koramoah sniffs it out from the secondary. He sees the play. He basically gets to the ball as soon as it got to the running back. He stripped it away from him and ran and got it and ran in 40 yards for a touchdown. Just a phenomenal play.
Wow.
On the replay, you can see his eyes where he sees the quarterback, he sees the play. He had enough athleticism and speed to get to the pitch before it got to Etienne, and away he goes, scores a touchdown. Amazing play.
And you know what? That's also an indication that the guy studies, that he had seen something that said, okay, this is what's getting ready to happen. I'm going, and you can't have enough of those guys. So when you look at
it makes a difference.
When you look at the linebacker spot, and as I mentioned, I've got a roster here, and here's the linebackers for the Cowboys: Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Francis Bernard, Luke Gifford, and Azur Kamara. That's it. So linebacker fits in just as well as a corner. And, I started looking at corners, and, there was 5 corners in one person's top 100 in the top 42 picks, 5 of them. And the 5th one was Ahsante Samuel Jr. at 42. So, again, there could be a really good cornerback when the Cowboys get to 44, and with the draft, choices they have, they can move up probably to the low 30s or to the 40, 38, 36, and get the corner if they end up with a linebacker.
They've got a Surtain. They have a Surtain. And they also have an Ahsante Samuel Jr.
Yeah, and they got Joe Horn's kid, J.C. Horn.
I did not know about Ahsante Samuel Jr. This is my first time hearing about him.
And Joe Horn's got a son, too.
Let's talk corner. Yeah, Mickey, and Everson, let's talk cornerbacks when we come back here. I want to get Everson's thoughts on the cornerbacks, and we'll get into the lineage, the family lineage of these guys, too, when Mick Shots continues in just a moment.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Just like all of you, we at SeatGeek can't wait until we're back in the stands at full strength cheering on the Cowboys and singing along to our favorite songs again. We're using this time to make discovering, buying, and selling tickets to events in Dallas easier. Plus, every ticket purchased on SeatGeek is protected by our buyer guarantee, which means you'll get your money back or better if your event is canceled. Guaranteed. Download the SeatGeek app today, and when the time is right, let's go. SeatGeek.
Back to Mick Shots.
And we are back here on Mick Shots. And Mickey, this is when I am supposed to do a read, and I dropped the ball on the read.
So
I'm thinking, like, where's the read?
Let me come in. Let me come in.
Searching for my read.
Let me come in off the bench right here. Let me come in off the bench.
Let's go, man.
Please help me.
The Star District is the perfect place for the whole family to enjoy. Support local Frisco businesses by visiting us to dine, shop, and explore the Dallas Cowboys themed campus. For more information on the all the Star has to offer, visit thestardistrict.com.
Way to go, Spags. That was your Roger Staubach coming in for Craig Morton. Way to go, buddy.
Exactly. That was like.
And don't forget, this big blue notebook is available now if you go to DallasCowboys.com to get the Dallas Cowboys 2021 official draft guide, Cowboys Star Magazine.
Good job there, Spags.
It's funny you said that, Everson. I had that flashback to that quarterback shuffle in Chicago.
Yes, the quarterback carousel. Yeah.
That's right. Craig Morton and Roger Staubach. And then finally the next Monday, Landry settled on Staubach, and they won 10 straight games and won the Super Bowl.
There you go.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history.
That's right. All right, let's. We talked about the linebackers, and we all liked the idea of some of these linebackers because of the talent at the linebacker position in this draft. But we've got a pretty good cornerback here, Mickey, that I want to pick Everson's brain here on the importance. And we touched on 3 cornerbacks who are sons of NFL players, Pro Bowl type players too. And Everson, those 3 guys. Patrick Surtain II from Alabama, who is the son of Patrick. In fact, he played for his dad in high school, American Heritage Academy in Fort Lauderdale. He was the head coach there, and and so Surtain, he's been groomed to be a NFL cornerback ever since he was born, basically. And then you got J.C. Horn at South Carolina, who is the son of former 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Joe Horn. And he played receiver growing up. Imagine that, because his dad was an NFL receiver and then converted to cornerback. And so he has not been groomed to be a cornerback all his life, but he's certainly been groomed to be an NFL player. And then Mickey mentioned Ahsante Samuel Jr., who is projected probably a second rounder, could sneak into the late first round. Different type cornerback than those other 2, because the other 2 are basically 6'1", 205 pounds, and Samuel's more in the 5'10", 5'11 range. But those are 3 guys. And of course, the ones that the Cowboys will be considering at number 10 are Surtain and Horn. And then Caleb Farley, a guy that had back surgery, is probably going to now be a late first-round guy. It'd be a tough call when you have got those other cornerbacks available, especially to pick with the 10th pick in the draft, take a guy who's had recent back surgery and actually has had a couple here. So, but how important do you think it is to take a cornerback that early in the draft?
Well, when it comes down to the NFL, I could say one thing, but the NFL is always looking in another direction. You got no more running backs being taken in the first round. Everything is predicated on a quarterback and offensive talent. And it seems like the running back position is kind of suffering. So if you ask me, everything is turned on its head. To be considering a cornerback before a running back in the first round of the NFL, Spags can tell you that's something that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, never would have even been considered. You had your exceptions, of course, like Deshaun Springs. You had Charles Woodson that came in, and they were studs. But for the most part, the running back position was always that position. Now here we are 10, 15 years later. No one's looking at running backs. Everybody's looking at quarterbacks. And now cornerbacks, all of a sudden, they're this premium position. I think the Cowboys themselves went for that. Of course, last year, a year ago, we started getting the guy from Alabama. That's Trayvon one Diggs. Thing. Trayvon Diggs. And the verdict is still out, of course, on him. I don't know. When you're talking about the choice between linebackers and defensive backs, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that linebacker position is just so much more dynamic and important for the Cowboys defense. I think if you just get some pressure, you get some guys that are making plays in the not just secondary position or up front. When you have a linebacker that can control so much and impact the game so much from that position of the defense, I think that's something that can help out any cornerback. You don't have to be a stud cornerback to get, to operate and under pressure. And if that linebacker or the defensive lineman can give me some pressure, then I definitely would prioritize those positions over the cornerback position. Because if you just get back there with Trayvon Diggs, this guy can make some plays if you just give him some pressure. We never had that luxury for the Cowboys while he's been here. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully, we're looking at a linebacker position to make that move. But if we were going to do this, is Patrick Surtain going to even be around in pick number 10? That's just how important people are looking at the cornerback position now, especially when Winfield were making all those plays in the Super Bowl. Spags, that influences a lot of other GMs and head coaches to say, hey, maybe we could look at a young defensive back that can make an immediate impact on the defense.
Yeah, there's this assumption that he's going to be there for the Cowboys. I've seen some mock drafts where Denver takes him at number 9. Then you're going to say, okay, do I take the next best cornerback on my board, or do I go linebacker? And look, what was the biggest problem this defense had last year? They couldn't stop the run.
Couldn't stop the run.
Right?
Yeah.
I just had to remind myself. I just looked it up. They gave up 2,541 yards rushing and 20 rushing touchdowns. Teams averaged 5 yards a carry against this team. 5 yards a carry. Now, I'm gonna blame.
When you think about that, before you go on, Spags, I just got to think. You had commentators, it was so bad, commentators were saying, why are opponents throwing the ball against the Cowboys?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Go ahead, Spags.
That's a half a first down every time they touch the ball, on average. Half a first down. If you can't stop the run, you don't earn the right to rush the quarterback because they ain't going to throw it. So, to me, you just can't assume that the cornerback's going to solve what they have. Now, again, there might be linebackers, like I pointed out with the corners, that in the second round you can get a good guy that can step in. But they need another starting quality linebacker on this team. If worst came to worst, I can start tomorrow with Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, and Jordan Lewis as my top 3 corners. All right. Now I'm in trouble if one of them gets hurt, so. But at linebacker, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and as I said last week, and what? Because It doesn't.
And what? That's very good. And what?
and so, that linebacker spot, when you can't stop the run, and I'll blame some of it on alignment, some of it on scheme, but they need another guy up there for sure. So either first or second round, I got to see a linebacker on this team.
And when you look at the picks, though, okay, if you're number 10, all of these promising players that you guys have mentioned, whether it was last week or today, I can't see all of them being gone. And we're just talking defensively. We're just talking defensive players that could be, in the top 10 by the time we get there. They can't all be gone. I look forward to us really filling up a spot, an important spot during the draft with one of these guys that we're talking about. They're not all going to be gone. And especially when you're looking at teams that are looking at offense in the top 10 as well. So we'll see.
Well, and the other thing, Everson, is it's possible that all of the defensive players will be there for the Cowboys too, because when you're talking about the speculation is that 5 quarterbacks might be taken in the top 7 picks or so, and then you got the tight end.
Someone will be there for us. Someone that we need will be there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But you might have the pick of the litter. You might have the whole thing for you to pick as far as defensive players go. All right, let me ask you about offensive linemen. Obviously, the Cowboys had issues last year with injuries on their offensive line, both tackle spots, with Tyron Smith playing only 2 games and Lyle Collins missing the whole season. What about an offensive tackle? There are 2 guys that have been mentioned, Penei Sewell as well as Rashawn Slater, as guys that could be in the mix at number 10. What would you think of an offensive tackle?
I would think of an offensive tackle late in the second round or in the third round. A guy that is maybe not ready to start immediately, but has starting capabilities in his future and can step up and be my backup swing tackle. And I think there's guys in this draft that kind of fit that description, that you don't have to have the top guy in the draft. Maybe you get the 3rd or 4th or 5th best offensive tackle. I've seen a couple names that kind of intrigued me as I look in my big blue notebook here. There's a guy, Tevin Jenkins at Oklahoma State. He's 6'5", 317. And he bench pressed, get this, he bench pressed 225. And I thought it was a misprint. 36 times. How does that happen? Can't do that.
That's Larry Allen status.
Right?
That's Larry Allen territory right there.
And then there's a couple other guys that are guards that could play tackle that might be intriguing. But again, to me, you want that guy maybe 3rd round. But they do need a young offensive tackle. Because I don't know, and we'll see how they, what they think of the guys that took over last year. Do they like Brandon Knight? Is Terrence Steele? Do they think they can sink their teeth into these guys as grooming them? Or do you need a young guy to come along and help out?
When you're talking about, my goodness, lifting 225 for 30 plus times, that is ridiculous. But you start comparing them to people like Larry Allen, like I just did, and that's kind of dangerous. So I almost wanted to just take that back, because Larry Allen wasn't just strong. Larry Allen was an athlete. I don't know how athletic this guy from Oklahoma State is, but that is promising when you're talking about lifting that many times. Hopefully he would have the kind of ability that Larry Allen had. And let's look at the importance in regards to the Cowboys in getting an offensive tackle. I'm sure you've thought of this, Spags. You've got a quarterback who's extremely vulnerable right now. And we just paid him all of this franchise cash. So should we change our priorities in the draft and say, you know what? We do need defense. Like you said, Bill, we might have the but man, we just paid Dak Prescott We just brought the entire bank to him, and now we're not considering protecting him when you're talking about two offensive tackles that we've had who have been long-standing experts and professionals at their job, but now they're looking a little vulnerable, okay? So do we consider protecting our quarterback first? Because yes, we need defense, yes, we need that, but we need our quarterback who we just paid a boatload of money. So do you consider your priorities to change in regards to offense versus defense? Because right now, we're not talking about a tight end now. We're talking about protection for your number one quarterback. You know, Tyron, of course, we're looking for him to come back, but man, he's been having some issues lately when you're talking about a big man like that trying to solve some of these problems over the offseason. For the last few off seasons has been a real problem. So do we roll the dice and say, we got to protect Dak? Over the defensive responsibilities, do we go with a guy that's going to protect Dak?
Well,
do you
here's
think
the way
Cowboys would compromise themselves.
Here's the way I look at that. They extended the contracts of Tyron Smith and La'el Collins. They restructured them to save cap space. If they had any worry about those guys' near future, meaning this year, they wouldn't have done that.
Yes.
So from a medical standpoint, they must have a very good feel for where those guys are. And I can tell you, watching La'el Collins do his rehab with Dak, he's doing some of the same things Dak is doing, and he's doing them awfully well. He's running really well. Now, there's a difference between running and rehabbing and then trying to block a 290-pound, defensive end. But he seems to be working well. So to me, if they had any worry whatsoever, then they would make that move at number 10. But I think they feel like these guys are good. So to me, you go back into maybe the second day and you find yourself maybe a tackle or a guard that can play tackle. I saw this, I was reading up on a guy from Michigan, Jalen Mayfield, 6'2", 6'5", 326. And it says that he could survive at tackle, but probably will end up at guard. But if I can have a guy survive at tackle and be able to be my swing guy as a rookie, I'd have to look at that, especially on the second day.
Well, and the reason they say that about Jalen Mayfield is because of his arm length. It's just 32.5-inch arms. And that's one of the, Rashawn Slater is a guy from Northwestern. You talk about Tevin Jenkins with 34 bench reps. Slater had 33 bench reps. He ran a 4.88 at 304 pounds with a 10-yard split of 168. His numbers are off the charts, very athletic, but there's one negative. His arms aren't 36 inches long like Tyron Smith's are. He's 3 inches shorter at 33 inches, and that's huge thing.
He's a little T-Rex, huh? A little T-Rex.
There you go. And Penny Sewell's the same way. If you're taking an offensive tackle at number 10, you need to have the same parameters on that you had when you took Tyron Smith at number 9 years ago, however long ago it was, 10 years ago, and that is that this guy is going to be holding down. He's going to be Tyron Smith's replacement at left tackle for years to forget about right tackle, because you can get a right tackle in the second round. But for a left tackle, you got to know that this guy is going to be Tyron Smith's replacement whenever Tyron decides to retire, and in the meantime, he can play guard. And I'm not sure that Slater is going to be a left tackle in this league. He may be a right tackle in this league.
Yeah, he has to. So, that guy has to be a left tackle, Bill. And here's the other thing. And I know Tyron's had some injuries. His biggest problem has been the neck thing, right? Well, they took care of that. So you hope that all worked. But I'll take Tyron Smith for 13 of 17 games before I put any other joker out there, okay?
Especially one with 32-inch arms. I get it, Spags.
All right, we continue with more Mick shots in just a moment.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. When there's work to be done, a real workhorse can make all the difference. Like the Range Boss package. Our 5075E John Deere 75 horsepower tractor features a bell spear and loader and starts at $369 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. It works like a horse, so you don't have to.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Mick Shots.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your exclusive fan pack and member benefits. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details. We are 2 weeks and 2 days away from the NFL draft, and Mickey, we are, 6 days away from the Cowboys players being back at the Star for the start of the official start of the offseason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the 19th. We're not sure how it's going to open. If it's going to be...
Oh, that's right. That's the other part of it.
It could be virtual. It could
come back
be
on
in
that.
person.
It could be virtual. That's right.
Yes. So...
That's your horses there, Bill.
But that's why this is really important.
It sounds like they are not going to be back at the Star until right before training camp, as a matter of fact.
You must have both of your doses already, Bill. You're ready to go, man. Slow your roll, buddy. Slow your roll.
That's exactly right.
I've got mine. I've got mine, but I don't know if I trust everybody else. So I'm just hanging in there. Hey, I'm going to give you one mix shot before we move on. I was trying to see the last time the Cowboys would have taken a player at number 10, right? It's never happened. They've had 9.
Whoa.
They've had 11 twice, but never 10.
Wow.
How about that?
All right. Was Michael Irvin number 11?
He was Ware and Michael Irvin were 11, and Tyron Smith was 9.
You know what they need to do? They need to either trade up to number 9 and take a Tyron Smith, or
because 9 and 11 work, right?
And take a DeMarcus Ware or Michael Irvin. all 3 of those. If they
now
if
you
they
got us
trade,
thinking about something else, Spags. See, now I'm nervous now.
If they pick at 9 or 11, they're getting a Hall of Famer. Number 10, the jury's out. All right, Everson was not with us last week, and Everson, if you can fill us in on where you were last week, and let's pay tribute.
Let's pay tribute to Coach Ernest Sterling, and as he is known in this household as Uncle Ernest. This was Sherelle's only uncle. It's her mother's baby brother, believe it or not. Her mother is 5'4". He's 6 feet. He was 6 feet 7 inches tall, and they called him the Big Cat. And I told people all the time, I call him Big Monster because he scared the living hell out of me. But I have to give him love because when I was looking for a place to go to college and get further my education, I guess people know the story. My wife at the time, my girlfriend, she knew where she was going. So, hey, young fella, if you want to come, fine. If not, I'm moving on and I'm going to make something of myself. So I'm like, okay, I better follow this chick. I don't want to lose her. So I'm like, okay, I want to go to Grambling. What did I do? She ended up giving my video, at that time, canister of film. Oh my God, we're old. Took my canister of film from Berkner High School, and he vouched for me to Coach Eddie G. Robinson. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I probably wouldn't be married to Sherelle. Our relationship probably never would have lasted. I never would have gone to college if it wasn't for Coach Ernest Sterling vouching for me to Coach Eddie Robinson. And my mom and I took that drive up there. That was the opportunity, literally, of a lifetime. Because if it wasn't Coach Sterling, I would not be married to Sherelle probably. I probably would not have furthered my education. And as much as he and I didn't really talk much, because he knows that I owed him my entire life. He knew that, but he was a guy that I have to contribute all of my success and all of my happiness. I have to contribute it to him, because if it wasn't for him, I would not be where I am today. Coach Sterling actually had a little stint with the Dallas Cowboys, and it just so happened Rayfield Wright calls me to talk about his golf tournament coming up in Weatherford. I think it's around October 11th. And I asked him, I said, do you remember a big 6'7", very fair-skinned young man from Grambling State University? And they called him also Big Cat. And of course, Rayfield remembered him right away, because I'm sure they had many battles together in practice. And even though Coach Sterling was only there for just a quick cup of coffee, he was really happy with his career, because he went back to Grambling and he coached at Grambling doing 2 stints. I would imagine cumulatively over 30 plus years under the tutelage of Coach Eddie Robinson. So he lived the life that he wanted to live. It was a dream life for him. He survived by Irene and his kids. And I just had to put that out there for him, because we're talking about HBCUs nowadays, and how, we've kind of been ignored throughout the annals of recent history in the NFL. And to me, Coach Sterling had his own legacy, and he also contributed to another legacy, which was mine. So I got to give him love, and he will truly be missed.
I'm Everson. I'm reading up on Ernest here, and he was a standout defensive lineman for Grambling, and then went to the Cowboys, as you mentioned. Was here briefly, and then he started his college coaching career as a defensive line coach for Eddie Robinson, first for 21 years, then stepped away for a couple of years, and then came back. And Eddie Robinson once said of Sterling, "Ernest coached with me for 24 years. He had played for me, and then in the NFL, he was like a rock and my foundation guy."
That's right.
Obviously Eddie Robinson, a Hall of Fame coach, but even Hall of Fame coaches need a rock in their foundation guy, and that's what Ernest Sterling was to Eddie Robinson.
That is so true. Cool. Coach Sterling, he actually came to a couple of Cowboy camps. You know how they bring in the whole staff of a particular university, HBCU or not, bring in some staff so they can learn on how things are done in training camp from the pros. I think that was an official program with the NFL to bring in college coaches and let them see how professional coaches get it done and how they go through practices. And it was very odd and strange to have the Grambling coaching staff there. I tried to stay the hell away from them. I don't want those flashbacks anymore. I had my own problems here with the Cowboys with Eddie Robinson, but that coaching staff was just like Coach Landry's in regards to, we wore suits and ties everywhere we went. We tried to represent our HBCUs with nothing but class, because Eddie Robinson would not have it any other way. We traveled all the time. We had 3 home games a year. any other time. We are on the road for 8 games. We had to take our books with us everywhere we went because the culture at Grambling was to graduate players, not just try to send them through the NFL through some type of draft. And Coach Sterling was we call him the educational supervisor, because he was the one that made sure all players stayed eligible. He was the one that did that. And that's why Eddie Robinson called him his rock, because he kept players eligible by hook or crook. He wanted to make sure that we were studying, that we stayed in class, and we stayed focused, not just on the field, but also on the campus.
And what a legacy. Thanks for sharing that, Everson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Ernest Sterling Sr., Grambling State University. All right, Mickey, any parting thoughts as we wrap up this edition of Mick Shots? We got just a couple of weeks before draft day.
You know, one other note on the cornerbacks. I mentioned there was 5 ranked in the top 42 of somebody's 100. That same listing had 11 corners in the top 61. So there are corners out there.
Whoa.
And you can get one in the second round if you decide to go a different route in the first. I'm not sure what the linebacker availability would be for someone to step in and be a starter if you got them in the second where the Cowboys are. But again, with all those draft choices, you can move around and get to where you need to if you can find a trading partner. And also, one other thing I noticed, I read this little note. The New York Jets, all right, they traded over this last year Leonard Williams, their 6th pick in the first round, Jamal Adams, a 6th pick in the first round, and Sam Darnold, a 3rd pick. They got 8 picks for those guys, trading them. They have 21 picks in the next 2 drafts, 2021 and 2022. So you think they got the ability to move around with an average of 10.5 picks per year? That's awfully impressive. So watch out for the Jets doing exactly what they want to do, if they can do it right.
Not as impressive as the Herschel Walker trade.
Right.
I'm sorry. That's chump change compared to what just happened. What was that, 1990, I believe, with the Cowboys and Herschel Walker.
89.
So the prediction is that the Jets will now make 21 more trades of all those draft picks here in the coming years, and they'll still have the
They'll still be at the bottom of the division no matter what.
That's right. All right. That does it for Mick Shots. For Everson and Mickey, I'm Bill, and we will see you again next week at 11:30 live on Tuesday morning on Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys!
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.